Hello, I'm Inky Willis. I'm creator of the Scribble Witch books, and you can see my tiny little Scribble Witch here, just hiding behind me. Hey there, Notes. I'm here on Moon Lane TV because it's my publication day of my second book in the Scribble Witch series, and this book is called Magical Muddles, and I really want to read you a couple of chapters from the book, and then if you stay tuned there's going to be a draw along later, so I'll show you how to draw your very own Scribble Witch, and maybe a little Captain Perkins, her pet cat, afterwards. Okay, so here we go, Magical Muddles. This is me, Molly Mills. Here she is. And this is my school. It says, not my favourite place, actual greyness of paint. Imagine a school that grey. My best friend Chloe used to go to Dunkfields too, but now she goes to Lady Juniper's School for Girls. From what she's told me, Lady Juniper's looks more or less like this. When Chloe changed schools, I was a bit upset. I may have been a bit over the top. I mean, yeah, it's bad. We've been besties since forever, since before we even knew what besties were. So I'm not exactly the laughing queen of Happyland now she's gone. But it would have been so much worse if it wasn't for Notes. Notes is the paper witch who lives in my pen pot. She's magic, of course, and my friend, hooray, and she's a total hero. Here's my top 10 things you absolutely have to know about my friend Notes. Number 10. Notes likes helping. This doesn't always go to plan, but she tries really hard. Number 9. Notes talks kind of funny. Actually, she doesn't talk at all. She just writes notes super fast. And she writes kind of funny. You'll see. 8. Notes is secret. Only friends can see Notes. This is because she's made out of paper and she doesn't want to be crumpled up by mean people. 7. Notes is scribbly. She's literally a scribble. 6. Notes was drawn by a sad kid. It's a mystery. And I found her and cut her out when I was sad too. And cutting her out was like some kind of magic spell because suddenly she was alive. Number 5. Notes has a pencil topper that's also a tiny real cat. I don't totally get how that works. His name is Captain Perkins. Number 4. Notes sleeps in the pen pot on my desk. She curls around the inside so she doesn't get crumpled by pencils. Number 3. Notes has a magic flying pencil instead of a broomstick. She can write magic notes with it, and her friends can read them. Number 2. Notes flies my notes all the way to Chloe, and flies Chloe's notes all the way back to me. See? Hero! Number 1. Notes eats pencil shavings. That's not something I love about her particularly. I'm fine with it though. It's just a fact. So yeah, the first few days without Chloe were hard, but with my hero Notes to help me, I was doing okay, right up until I got this. Hi Molly, don't worry about me. There aren't many kids in my class, which is weird, but I've made some amazing friends. There's Eliza, she's got a cinema room at her house. There's Dina, she's an actual genius. And I told you about Daffodil, right? She tells these jokes that make you laugh even though they're not funny. She reminds me of you a bit, so I'm totally, completely fine. From Chloe. P.S. All my friends have signed up for the inter-school championship and guess who's agreed to do it too? Me! I know, right? And there's that note. So that's a note from Chloe, her best friend. It was break time when Notes delivered that message from Chloe. I'd been hanging out on my own, hiding in the secret spot, which is basically just a hollow bush at the end of the field. I was really hoping a letter would arrive, and whoop, along came Notes and Captain Perkins riding on a paper plane. And I was so excited when I started reading. I felt like a bouncy castle all puffed up with glee. But then I read the letter, and all the glee hissed out of me. There she is afterwards. For a long while I just sat there frowning at the piece of paper. Notes even flew up to my forehead at one point and tried to push the creases apart. Captain Perkins pushed his tiny head against my neck, trying, I hope, to comfort me. I had 2 huge problems with Chloe's letter. Firstly, this what's-it spelling thing. Chloe used to hate spelling tests. I hate spelling tests. Hating spelling tests was our thing. It was a huge part of our friendship. Who was this new Chloe of her why not give it a go attitude? Secondly, and maybe I was being a bit selfish, but isn't settling in and making new friends supposed to take a while? Did she even miss me a teeny bit? I mean, how could she miss me when she had all those exciting new friends? How could I compete with cinema rooms and geniuses and girls called Daffodil? Though for the record, Daffodil is nothing like me because my jokes actually are funny. I mean, I totally did want Chloe to have new friends. I totally didn't want her to be hiding in a bush every break time, waiting for notes from me. But a little "I miss you" would have been nice. Notes looked really worried, which made me feel mega guilty. She'd gone to all that trouble of flying Chloe's letter to me. I should have been all grins and glee, but I just wasn't feeling it. So I wasn't surprised when Notes grabbed a leaf and wrote on it with her magic pencil. "Is Molly all right?" "I'm fine," I said. She shook her little head and flipped over the leaf. "Maybe it's today's opposites day and Molly is not fine." "I'm fine," I said again. Frowning, she yanked up a blade of grass. "Really fine?" "Really, really, really fine," I sighed. I looked down at the letter, hoping Notes wouldn't see how really not fine I was. My heart sank at the thought of writing back to Chloe. She'd be expecting a reply, but I didn't know what to say. There's nothing flashy about Dungfields, nothing impressive. I thought about telling her that we'd got new picnic tables for lunchtime, but then I thought, what if everyone at Lady Juniper's eats at a restaurant with flowers and frilly tablecloths and fancy napkins? So I didn't write back right away. Instead, I flopped around the secret spot, watching Captain Perkins bop unlucky flies. Then, with a sad heart and dead flies on my jumper, I slunk inside. Okay, chapter 2. By the time I got back to class, I was in a right old funk. A funk, in case you're wondering, is a gloomy mood. And this was a full frown, slumpy-shouldered kind of funk. The kind of funk that no one can help you with, especially not Emily. Emily sits next to me. She's okay, but she doesn't handle my funks very well. I think they make her feel uncomfortable. When I sat down, she said, "Are you going to do that thing again when you huff and sigh and grunt all the way through maths?" I said, "Humph." Then she mumbled, "Oh, lucky me," and started arranging her stationery. Emily loves stationery just as much as I love stationery. The difference is, mine's always jumbled up in my pencil case, and Emily likes hers to look, well, Emily-ish. That's how Emily likes her stationery. Super neat. I looked at the empty chair on the other side of me, where Chloe used to sit. It was 3 weeks and 2 days since Chloe had left, not that I was counting, and no one had taken her place. I thought back to her letter about Eliza and Dina and Daffodil. Perhaps someone totally new would start at Dungfield, someone super sassy, called Bluebell, or Buttercup, or maybe a name that sounded a bit less like a cow. I know, I thought. Sapphire. The point is, if Chloe had replaced me, then fine. I wouldn't get all jealous. Nope, not me. I would just stay cool and wait for my new best friend to arrive. But just as I was wondering what Sapphire would look like, my super sarcastic teacher, Mr. Stilton, coughed. Mr. Stilton is so sarcastic that even his coughs sound kind of fake. "Huck-hem," he said, going up at the end like he was asking a question. I thought about answering in cough language too. "Huckety-hem-hem," but I didn't, because then all the super sarcasm would have been aimed at me. Mr. Stilton was standing at the front of the class holding a giant dice, ready to do what he calls the input, which always makes me think of some weird machine with beeps and flashing buttons. But actually, it's nowhere near that exciting. In fact, one dice isn't called a dice, it's called a die. That's right, a die. No one says that though, because it's weird. "Eyes this way," he said. Who remembers what we've been looking at this week? Everyone probably remembered, but only Emily put her hand up. Probability, said Emily. Thank you, said Mr. Stilton, glaring at the rest of us. So, he said, if I roll this dice, what's the probability of me getting a 6? Tell the person next to you. The class filled up with mathsy murmurs. Emily looked crazy keen to tell me the answer. I wasn't really in the mood for this. She leaned in towards me like she was worried someone might steal her answer. 1 in 6, she whispered. Ugh, I said. Emily glared at me, and I remembered what she said about me grunting, etc. Maybe she had a point. Hands up then. Who thinks they know, said Mr. Stilton. And there's Emily, really keen again. Emily's hand instantly shot up, but Mr. Stilton was looking the other way. Mr. Fudd? 1 in 6, said Mr. Fudd. Who agrees, said Mr. Stilton. I hate it when he asks who agrees. Because if you do put your hand up, you might get asked why. And if you don't put your hand up, you might be asked what you think the answer is. There's literally no safe option. I decided to copy everyone else and stuck my hand in the air. But on its way up, my hand accidentally knocked Emily's pencils out of their very, very neat line. Uh-oh. She glared at me again, and I tried to tell her sorry with my face without actually saying it, so I wouldn't get told off for talking. Emily ignored my sorry face and started faffing with her pencils. Well done, everyone. All in agreement. Good. Oh, all except Emily. Emily, please get Molly to explain the answer to you. Emily's mouth fell open in horror. Then she snapped it shut and glared at me again, even though I hadn't done anything wrong this time. Then as soon as Mr. Stilton started talking to the class, Emily twisted her chair, turning her back on me. There's Emily, not looking impressed. It was just as well, though, because a moment later, Notes popped out of her pen pot and plonked a note in front of me. A long note from Notes here. And it's a questionnaire. And she says, is A. Miserables because of probabilities. B. Miserables because he's missing Chloe. C. Miserables because he's hungry. D. Pretending miserables for acting practice. Question 2. Is you wants A. Helpings with maths. B. Helpings with friendlings. C. Double helpings of puddings. Question 3. If you is an animal, which animal is you is? A millipede with plenty of legs for extra good countings. B. A sad monkey with no monkey friendlings. C. A bear which is not done eating for a long time and is now having bad thinkings about yummy rabbits and fishies. D. A famous zebra. Madness. I turned the paper over and wrote. Here's my writing here, Molly's writing. You could just ask what's up. Also, I'm fine, nothing's up. Not really true, but I didn't want to talk about it. She turned over the paper and pointed. Okay, I whispered. I looked at the questions again. Where was the option for none of these crazy answers has anything to do with how I'm feeling? But if I had to pick, if I absolutely had to, well, I definitely wasn't worried about maths, and I'm always hungry, so that was nothing new. And no, I didn't want to be a famous zebra, or even a famous human. So there are Molly's answers here. Notes nodded as she read my answers. Then she scrawled a message underneath. It's as I thinked. My clever questings has revealed the secret truth. Molly needs another friendling. But it's okay, Molly Mills. Notes will do super helpings. Uh-oh. As I said, Notes helpings weren't always helpful. And there we are. There we are. I'm on to chapter 3, so I'm going to stop there. And I wonder how Notes is going to help Molly get another friendling. Okay, so now it's time to grab yourself a pencil and some paper, and we're going to get started on our draw along. We're going to draw Notes the Witch, so you can have your very own Scribble Witch, and we're also going to draw her pet, Captain Perkins, who's kind of a real cat and kind of a pencil topper cat. He kind of moves between the two. So get what you need, and we're going to get started.